there's a big complementary nature between wind and solar as well, in that, where there's concerns, there's barriers. And when you look at, let's say if we were looking at a 100% wind solution here, the concern always remains about what happens when you have a 2-week frost. How are you going to deal with this long-term storage issue? And like storage really is very much biased towards install high power, short duration, right? To deliver the system services that are needed to enable the use of low inertia renewable energy. And there's never really going to be that investment case for 2 weeks of storage. And even if there was an investment case, the resource depletion that we'll be embarking on to actually facilitate that will be huge. But I guess every day where you have a frosty day with no wind, you have clear skies and sunshine. So you know now that you've turned a potential 2-week problem into a within day storage challenge. And
it's back to that point about we're designing for a zero carbon system, not trying to get to 2030. 2030 is just a way stop on the way. You're talking about an integrated system. And I think you said earlier on that most people in the sector, no one pretends that any solution is 100% effective by itself. No renewable advocate would say that. I mean, I'm still amazed the number of people that tell me that, the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow. And
very profound.
I mean, 16 years in the industry, it's really good to finally find that out. We designed the system around burning dead dinosaurs essentially in a few places and pushing that out to people. That was the system. The system we're moving to, the one I described, is one that's much more complex, much more decentralized, and one that has this kind of blend of what's happening on the demand side and the supply side. So, we've talked about the generation side a lot, because, we're talking about generators a lot. On the demand side, you kind of have two options really. It's you make more of your own power, so that's predominantly solar. That seems to be the dominant technology there. Or you look at ways to vary your demand. So that's probably falls very much into your court, Paddy. It's really kind of looking at the problem in that kind of holistic way. We talk about it like every kilowatt hour you make yourself is one that doesn't have to be made somewhere else. And that system and that thinking, that kind of decentralization of mindsets, you're talking about a much more democratic system. It's not, the system operators can't sit in the middle, across Europe and say, when we want your opinion, we'll give it to you. You're moving to a system where you're thinking about trading and capturing weather fronts across a continent and thinking about moving power in those terms, while also at the same time facilitating individual people to participate. Because I have a big thing about solar being the gateway drug into sustainability. So much of what we talk about is so big, large scale interconnectors, large utility scale solar farms. And you get someone putting the panels up on their roof. And what you find is they're up in the middle of the night, they're looking at the app on their phone, they're starting to think about, what else can I do? Because it's something you can do yourself. It's very straightforward. You see the immediate impact on your bill, but it's that kind of thing of enlisting people into the kind of the fight against climate change. So much of it is governments kind of doing these large centralized schemes, but not giving people options. The discussion is so often framed in terms of individual choice, but all the individual choices are conditioned by the infrastructure around you. It's all well and good saying, I want you to take a bus, but if the bus service comes once a week, that's not really much help to anybody. So it's kind of been very joined up. It's really enabling people. And I think as well, from a political perspective, when you have a wider cohort of society demanding these changes in concert with the industry and some of the other people, I think that's going to become more powerful. I really do think the population is far ahead of the politicians on this one.
And maybe just to build on that point, there's going to need to be a huge angle in terms of public trust and in terms of, to be honest, politicians and system operators and everyone in industry stepping up, getting used to being uncomfortable and making uncomfortable decisions. Because if we rely on the sort of, say, investment landscape that we've had nationally over the last 10, 15 years, we're just not going to get this done. We can't progress with large national infrastructure projects only for it to be held up by, say, local opposition without thinking about the bigger national picture. So trying to build up that trust by ensuring that people understand the problem that is in front of us, try and combat it in their own day-to-day lives in whatever way they can by putting solar panels on their roofs, by electrifying their vehicles, their heat pumps, but then also for the state and for the system to provide them with sufficient trust in things like their planning authorities, so that when a planning authority makes a decision, the public understands that it's been through a very rigorous process, that it's been assessed, it's been scrutinised, and they trust the outcome, so that we can get on with it and build the infrastructure. We're going to need to make some uncomfortable calls as an industry. And I'm talking about the government, I'm talking about system operators, the regulators, the industry themselves. We're going to need to build infrastructure, and that's going to be a huge part of what we're going to need to do. We've learned a lot of lessons, I would hope, from the last decade about how not to do that, and about what did and did not work. So I think we need to take what did work and then multiply it by 10. Be brave, be comfortable getting uncomfortable. And I think it was something that Tanya Harrington, she's the chairperson of Renewable Energy Ireland, she said it at our annual conference a few weeks ago. We need to encourage courage in our leaders, and encourage politicians to step up and to have the conviction to be able to deliver on infrastructure in their areas and not have to worry about getting voted out afterwards.